Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Um, Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nividyate tatasya harati pragyam vairnavyamivambasi. Translation: As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. So basically, in this verse, Krishna is actually talking about like the opposite of what a self-realized soul would like the behavior a self-realized soul would be exhibiting.
Hmm.
And Krishna uses the analogy of like a boat on the water, and if there's like a strong gust of wind, the boat kind of like rears off course. Similarly, when one of our senses becomes distracted, our mind kind of like goes off course and like becomes distracted from like bhakti. And like I have an example for this too. So imagine you were doing japa, right? And you're like focused on your japa, you're concentrating, you're really getting into it, right? And then out of like the corner of your eye, you like see some sort of motion. Now your eyes have like gone away from japa for like a second, but now you're thinking in your mind, what was that motion? What was it?
Hmm.
Could have been like something. And basically now your mind has also wandered away from like japa or like your spiritual consciousness. And so like even one like when one sense wanders away, it can kind of like jeopardize like the rest of like your devotional like mindset in that moment, basically. And he's basically just emphasizing the fact that like your senses are like naturally restless, right? And your mind will follow like your senses. So when your senses become attracted to something, your mind shall follow, and then like you'll lose that spiritual consciousness that you're trying to gain. So a self-realized person will be able to like control his senses and be able to properly engage them so that their mind won't wander away and their spiritual consciousness will stay intact. Um, and then Krishna, I said consciousness a lot of times, so he's talking about like the internal consciousness. I know the senses are technically external, but I feel like the main point of the verse is how like your mind is like very like I mean, I said your senses are restless, but your mind is also restless because it again follows your senses. And I feel like a practical teaching is like really trying to nail down the point that even like a single uncontrolled sense can ruin like that spiritual consciousness because your mind tends to follow your senses. So you should be able to engage your senses in Krishna consciousness so that they can't like hijack they so they can't be hijacked from like by material like attractions, and that way you'll excel in bhakti and be able to like fully concentrate all of your focus on bhakti and your
Mhm.
japa, just like anything you're doing spiritually. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. I
Thank you.
liked your analogy that you were giving and the way I understood it. Uh, so when a temptation comes from an external source, like you mentioned, there was a some movement in it when you were chanting. So it first enters through the senses, as you gave in your example, the eyes, but then it can also later on agitate the mind. That was a good analogy that you gave. I like that. And sometimes that I have noticed personally in my japa, yes, external things also distract me, but many a times there are past impressions in my mind that rise up and they also agitate me. So yes, externally there are things that are hurting me. Uh, and then there are also internally. So when that's the way I understood it. Like your example was perfect. Sometimes I see that the strong wind is not just coming from an external source. It can just rise from within me and also distract me. But yeah, I like the analogy of that. Yeah. So thank you. So one thing I just want to highlight here, this verse is similar to an earlier verse we read. So just keep this in mind. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away our mind's intelligence. There was a 60th verse where again Krishna was talking about the that the sense is the power of the senses. So I'll just show you that verse, and you can see a connection in both of them. And it's not just for Sadhu, it's for everybody, I'm saying. What's that? 60, 61, 60. Yes. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjun, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So something similar, that the senses are very strong and impetuous. He's 60. And then in 67, we say that as a strong wind sweeps away, so roaming senses can be. The difference, however, in both of them is, in this verse, 60th verse, Krishna is focusing fully on the senses, right? But if we go to the 67th verse, which verse is 66? 67th verse, you will notice here, Krishna is highlighting the intelligence part, that as a strong wind sweeps away. So that's the difference, right? So 60, focus was on controlling the senses. Here it's about engaging the intelligence, right? So just keep that in mind. Verses, they sound similar. Never be under the impression that Krishna is just saying the same thing in a different way, right? There is always a purpose, a reason behind why Krishna is saying every word has a valuable meaning to it. Each verse is a temple in itself. You can go in there, you can meditate on it, you can spend your whole life in that verse. So, because it's just Krishna, it's not like a material person speaking it. So, yeah, so just wanted to bring that out. Okay, well, thank you. Who's next? 68.
Prabhuji, this is Sandeep. Me?
Yes, Prabhu, please. 68. Let me bring it to 68. Yes.
I'll just read the translation.
Okay.
Therefore, O mighty armed one, whose senses are restrained from their objects, is certainly of steady intelligence. So this is actually related to what Sanvi and other people talked previously. The way I see this is that we all are kind of submerged in our senses, in our thought process. It's like almost like, drowned in this ocean. There is no way to get out of the ocean. How hard we try it out, Prabhuji. So then what do you do about it, right? If you're submerged and there's like water around, what are you going to do about it? And the way I understand is that you need somebody to pull you out, some kind of like a in a computer programming language, an admin mode, some kind of a somebody who's outside this ocean. And that is Krishna. So if we focus on Krishna and Krishna notices us, then we can be taken out of this whole endless ocean of thought process in the senses. And one thing that Prabhupada mentions here is that no amount of human endeavor can actually achieve this. Because if somebody is drowning, how can he save himself? So there has to be somebody outside, and that outside is Krishna. So as long as we are in focus on Krishna consciousness and we follow all the principles, then we have a hope to come out of this ocean of nescience.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, that's we should. So Krishna is highlighting, and as you rightly highlighted, we should try to control the senses not by force, but by dovetailing them in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Then my senses will be purified. Mahaprabhu quoted a verse, and it was also in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam, Tat Paratvena Nirmalam, Rishikena Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. That when we engage all our senses in the service of the Lord, then towards who? Rishikesh. Rishikesh means he's the master of all the senses. So when we use all our senses in the service of the senses of Krishna, then we get freed from the material designation. Our senses get purified, right? So nirmala means purified, right? So that's being highlighted here. Yes. So yes, as Prabhupada is also highlighting. Prabhupada is saying this. He's just putting it in. He's translated that verse into English. The verse that I was just quoting from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then Prabhupada highlights one thing here, that Krishna consciousness one, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. It's called sadhaka, or a suitable candidate for liberation. Prabhupada will highlight this again and again, again and again, again and again. The reason Prabhupada brings out the same thing again and again, because he wants it to be established in our mind that you might think there are other ways to figure it out, but there are not. You might think, I don't need a guru. I've figured it out myself. Fine, go ahead. Might not be this life, might be the next, might be 100 lives later. But guru is important. There has to be guidance coming from a self-realized soul. And that person, as Prabhupada is saying, is a suitable candidate for liberation. Engaging our senses in service of Krishna under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master completes the package. Otherwise, it's just a half package, as you would say, right? So yeah, okay. 60, that was 68. Yes, Gandharvika.
Krishna. So, among senses, the tongue is most voracious, right? So how would you say about like a practical diet guide with all these long hours of working, even if you have a guru, even if you are all thorough with this principle, just the practical, like you don't eat until you finish offering. When you come home from, late hour working, those kind of things I'm not there, completely not there yet. So I just want to hear your experience, how you progressed in controlling senses in practical way.
So we read this in the, what was that? Nectar of Instruction, right? The first verse. Vacho vegam, manasa krodh vegam, jiva vegam. There was a jiva vega, which is the urge of the tongue. And Prabhupada gives us, he says, you control your tongue by supplying prasad. So that's one thing. We don't eat anything that has not been offered to Krishna. That's one way to control the urge of the tongue, right? And not eating in restaurants or sweet or shops out there, right? So that's one thing to control it, to control our tongue. However, I get your point. It's not like our lives are perfect, that we have an 8-hour job and after that we forget it, and we can come home, we have enough time to cook and so forth. So you can cook food. Let's say you take something for lunch, right? So you can offer it. You don't have to like physically do it in the front of a deity. You can do it in your mind also. It can be offered in your mind also. So you don't have necessarily do that. Secondly, it's a one thing I have done. I used to travel a lot. Earlier, like, till 2023, I would travel like 2 or 3 times a year. I used to go to London, and I had some work there. I used to be there for a week or so. So I would mostly eat fruits or something that my wife can cook. She used to cook something for me, which I could keep there in the freezer, refrigerator, and then just warm it and eat it. I would do that also many a times. Okay? However, all our situations are different. They're not the same. I can't say that what I did would apply to you also. But you have to understand that the principle is of taking prasadam. Don't try to become very hard and fast on that. Oh, it should be done in proper utensils, in front of my deities, at the right time. And it should be done for, let's say, 15 minutes. It should be offered. There should be 10 different items that should be cooked. Those standards are for the temple. You don't apply those principles at your house. And Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He sees your intention, your emotion behind it. He knows that your life is hectic. He was not going to come and punish you. Oh my God, you didn't offer me fresh, warm food in the morning before you left for work. No, he doesn't do that. He sees it. So it's okay to change the details here and there, but the principle should be that we only eat prasadam. Now, how you make it prasadam could make a difference. As I said, you can offer it in your mind. Sometimes, let's say you are eating out. Try to find a place that does not cook meat at all. Try to find a vegetarian place. Well, take salad. You can buy salad and eat salad. Salad is okay. And you can just put it on your table, close your eyes for a minute and say, Krishna, I'm offering this to you. So Krishna accepts that. Krishna is not so hard and fast on that. I don't know if I touched on your answer. Your question was very broad, but I don't know if there was something else on your mind that you had.
I have other question, but I have Julanya to go first. This is a separate question. So, but thank you so much. So, if you eat salad in the restaurant that cooks meat, you
So
cannot offer that salad?
yes, you should offer anything you eat. See, I tell my son sometimes. He comes and asks me, "Oh, Papa, is this offered?" I tell him, even if it is offered, you can offer it again. There is no harm in it. Let's say, he got something. Let's say somebody gave him something to eat, right? Okay, let's say some sweet or something, and he'll come and ask me, "Papa, I don't know if this person has offered this or not." I said, "No problem. You offer it once more in your mind, and then you eat it." So don't become hard and fast on the rules and regulations. But the intention behind it is that should be prasad. You have to have that sense of gratitude towards Krishna for giving you that food. The moment you express that, Krishna is okay with that. And then to answer your question, yes, many times I go out on lunches with my team members, office work members, and they go to restaurants where they cook meat. I take salad. Even the people sitting on the table with me are eating meat. But I've highlighted this to all of you before. We all being in the grasta situation, to my knowledge, none of you is a brahmachari or a sannyasi at least yet. We all have to balance it. There are two ways Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains. One is paramarthika, the other is vyavaharika. Vyavaharika means that you cannot go, let's say you go for an interview and they ask you, where are you from? You don't say, oh, I'm from Golok Vrindavan. They will not hire you. They'll kick you out. So you have to tell them, hey, I am from Germantown. I am from Boston. I'm from New York. That's fine. So, okay. But so that's Vyavaharika, means you have to adjust according to the time, place, and circumstance. You're hanging out with your friends and they have no clue of bhakti, and suddenly you start bringing up chapters from Bhagavad Gita. What do you expect? They'll run away. So that's Vyavaharika. How to deal with this material world while keeping your consciousness intact. So you have to find out innovative ways. The other is Paramarthika. Down deep, you have to know that you are a soul. You are not a body. So as a grasta, we all have this challenge. We have to learn to balance both of them. But don't try to push. Don't wear your religion on your wrist. How they say that? I think that's the quote they say. Don't try to be so overexpressive that people alienate you, and that could hurt you in this material. You don't want to do that. So the balance. That's what I mean to say. So yes, I have to go with my team members. I don't want them to feel that I am snobbish and I don't like to eat with them. I don't want them to feel that. And it's a team building activity. I want to take part in that team building activity. I have a job to take care of. That job pays for my mortgage, takes care of my car, my family, and whatnot. So I have to maintain that. I cannot be just too overly fanatical.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Julian Yatra, sorry, you had a question.
I didn't have a question. I was just saying that last time when I went for a conference in Texas, I realized that you can just ask the hotel to give you bread and butter, and that just worked fine.
Yeah, that's fine too. Yes. But just be careful. Sometimes bread have eggs in there. So be cautious to ask for the ingredients if you can.
Yeah.
That's something I do. For example, recently, last week, I was in North Carolina visiting some devotee friends, and we went through Richmond. We stayed overnight in a hotel in Richmond. And next morning, Keshav was going to have breakfast, my son. And then he went and checked that, hey, does the waffle mix have eggs in it? He went and checked that. And it didn't have eggs in it. So he ate it. I also ate it, not just him. But yeah, thank you for adding that. Thank you. Yes, Sandeep, you had your hand up.
Prabhuji, so when you go to these, with team buildings, restaurants, things like that, I think salad is a very good option, but sometimes like salad dressing could have onions or something like that, or even salad might have onion, right? So, I mean, meat, I totally understand, but do you go to that extent also where you like, check two times? Because just asking something like that, hey, does it have onion, brings another set of, questions. Oh, why
So,
onion?
so see, again, you don't have to tell people that I don't eat onion because of religious reason. Tell them I'm allergic to onions. The word allergy is more than enough for anybody to back off. This country is people are so conscious about allergies. You can tell them, I don't eat onion garlic, I'm allergic to onion garlic. And then whenever I order my salad, I always ask them, it should have no meat, fish, or eggs. I specifically mention these three things to them. And they're able to do it. And when they do the dressings, See, you also have to do some research at your end. It's not just going to be served to you on a plate, right? So you have to do that. I know which dressings don't contain onion and garlic in there for when it comes to salad, you
Okay.
know. So you have to do some searches. Like whenever I go out for a lunch, I always look at the menu beforehand. Sometimes I have even called the restaurant and asked them, "Hey, I have a schedule of coming to your restaurant at this time. I just want to be sure that this dish does not have these things in there." And they tell me, or if they don't have it on their menu, I ask them, "Hey, can you make this dish for me without this in there? What does your dressing contain?" For example, what you're saying. Like for example, last time I went, they had a dressing of some herbs in it, and I checked with them. They said, "No, we don't add onion garlic. It has basil, some other some exotic herbs, but no onion garlics in it." So I use that dressing. So you have to do some research at your end also, bro.
Thank you.
But again, going back to the same principle, Vyavahartika, Paramarthika. Don't try to be overly religious out there and try to show off, "Oh, I'm a devotee, you all guys are useless." No, no, don't do that in the real world. Don't do that. Just balance it. Balance it. Krishna does not appreciate. All of those are Krishna's children. They might not know it. They all are devotees in disguise. They don't know it yet. But you know it, but you don't have to be proud of it or you overly expressive about it. So just keep that balance in mind. And be of that sense of that humility that I'm not here to show off to anybody what I'm doing. I'm just trying to balance things, and my balancing pleases Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Just because
Yes, please.
you spoke basil, so because I know some ISKCON devotees don't eat tulsi, like they don't eat with their teeth or something. So basil is like the similar species. So is there a problem with that also? Eating?
So when you say devotees don't eat basil, what do you mean? I'm not sure. I didn't get that.
Oh, I mean, when I hear these pravachans by other ISKCON devotees, like preachers, some
Okay.
of them they say that do not eat tulasi leaf with your teeth. Just make a small pieces and swallow.
I think that's holy basil,
Yeah,
Mataji.
holy basil. Yes, I
Basil is
understand.
different. Yeah.
I know that holy basil is different than the basil. So I'm just asking, is basil also in the same? Because some preachers say the holy basil
Okay.
and the general basil is like a jungly tulsi.
Okay. Okay. Jay, just 1 minute. Can I come back to your question? I didn't realize Shivani has to leave, so I just want her to give an opportunity
Oh, okay.
to do
Sure.
her. But I'll come back to
Okay.
your question after she's done.
Okay.
Yes, Shivani. Sorry, I forgot about
Thank you
that.
so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Please go ahead.
Krishna. Yeah. First, I'll read the verse, Prabhuji.
Sure.
या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागृति सामयामि यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुनि. Translation. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for self controlled, and the timing of awakening of all beings is night for the introspective sage. So, here, this is Krishna is talking about the Sthita Pragya walks, and he's talking about two different types of sort of intelligence. First intelligence is focused towards the self realization, that is Sthit Pragya and Mune, and the second type of intelligence is fully materialistic, that is fully focused on sense gratification, on sense objects. So here is day night meaning is they the both the materialistic and the isthit pragya, the self realized person, they have they how they are living opposite in their consciousness. So self realization person, their activity sorry, their perspective is very difficult to understand by materialistic person, because he's sleeping by that time. And the it's example that when we are in a deep sleep, we don't realize what is going around us, right? So in self-realization person, he's always awake. He when he's awake, in the night, in the daytime, he's always a distaste of the materialistic things and disinterest all those things. But in the similar
time when materialistic person is awakening, he is always into sense gratification and always in try to enjoy all sense objects, sorry. So, and but at the same time, Prabhupada is saying in the purport that what self-realization person is doing when a materialist person is awakening, what he is doing by that time. So he is introspecting, that is pashyat. He's seeing sense objects also. He's seeing people are happy and sometimes distressed also, but they understand how they are drowning and entangled in this world, like and but he's always distaste and interest into the sense objects. So we have a very good example of our Prabhupada. When Prabhupada landed in Boston, he's he's looking the high skyscraper buildings and light dazzling lights, normal people. But when we are coming in America, we seeing all those things as if we are describing in India as if it is, it's a heaven. But when Prabhupada came here, he realized that this is where I come, Krishna, oh Krishna, where I come, why I came in this hellish planet. That is his, because he is self realization soul, and he's sthit pragya. So he was not seeing the fancy things and bewildered all those things. So and he's on the same time he also realized that he felt sad to seeing the people how they are eating and doing parties and all. And he was seeing that a person was drowning in the material world and all those people paying their path towards the hell, right, Prabhuji? So this is Prabhupada's thought. And similar way, I have example like when we came in bhakti, we will not affected by the world of these kind of personalities. In fact, we look over to our acharyas and gurus to follow their footsteps without bordering their blaspheming chastisement of the people in general. So, and then also Prabhupada is highlighting the sage feels the transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep of self realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure. So, that's all, Prabhuji, from my side.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, you brought a good point that it's about the interest, right? So, interest of what is of interest to materialist versus what is interest of spiritualist, like Prabhupada. And the word night here is referring to lack of activity, interest, or stimulation. So, activities of interest are different, as you highlighted it. Yes, thank you. Two different people, two different forms of enjoyment, and yeah, so there is different definition of enjoyment for the one as is being highlighted, right? That for self-controlled, what is night? All beings, and then the self-controlled. There are two peoples. All beings here referred to as materialistic people. Yes. Okay. Thank you. What? Yes. So I know what we're talking about. Yes, the Tulsi question. Yes, Jayandi, you were saying. So, in my understanding, there is no scriptural injunction in Shastra forbidding chewing of Tulsi leaves. Okay. So I just want to clarify that. I have not come across any Shastra where it says you should not chew the Tulsi leaf. Shastra gives us many things. Don't pluck Tulsi at night. Don't pluck Tulsi on Dwadasi. Those kind of things are. We always pray to Tulsi every morning. But no Shastra says that chewing is, we should not chew Tulsi. So it probably comes from a devotional etiquette, not a scriptural injunction. Okay? So look at it that way. So these are customs of respect, but they're not rules. They're not rules prescribed in the Shastras for us. Okay? So that's another aspect to understand. So what does Prabhupada say? Prabhupada says, always honor prasadam with tulsi leaves. So when your prasadam has tulsi leaves in it, and when you are eating it, it will get chewed automatically, right? If you every item that we offer has a tulsi leaf in it. Now, some of them might be there's some lentils there which might be of the same color as tulsi, so you cannot identify. So I don't do that. I don't like take it separately and swallow it or something like that. I chew it. So Prabhupada never said don't chew it, at least to my knowledge. And that's what I'm saying. So If it was so important, Prabhupada would have said it clearly, right? So there is, so now I'll just summarize what I'm saying. No Shastric injunction forbidding chewing tulsi. Some devotees choose not to chew out of personal reverence, but it's not an offense or a rule listed by Srila Prabhupada or the scriptures. The tulsi leaves offered to Krishna are meant to be eaten, and Prabhupada accepted them. Prabhupada used to eat them, right? So just wanted to give you both sides of the picture.
Okay, thank you. Because I heard some of the ISKCON preachers saying all these things for, I mean, it was big discussion there, and I was, previously I was eating, and I'm like, oh damn, I'm like, I was eating all the time, and now I started swallowing, and so I was very confused with this. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so who's next? What next are we doing?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, is me, Sandeep.
Yes, Sandeep, please go ahead.
Okay. Apuriya manam akala pratistam samudra pravisanti yadevat tadvad kamayam pravisanti sarve sa santim apnoti ka na kama kami. Okay, translation. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace. In opposition, not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. It's the opposite. Uh, my take on this is first, I'll read the analogy that Prabhupada gives, and it says that although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during rainy seasons, being constantly filled through the rain, but it remains steady. It remains not agitated, and it kind of goes up to the brink, but it never goes beyond the brink, which is the level. And the analogy kind of shows that a true person a person that's fixed on Krishna consciousness, as long as he has the material body and the demands of the body for sense gratification, they will continue. But if he has the fixed on Krishna consciousness, then like the ocean, he will remain steady. And another example is that a Krishna conscious man is not always in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. So he does not have to look outwardly for any kind of sense gratification or even notice it. I think it has to be, you have to be inward and just looking at Krishna and on concentrating on that and not on other material senses that are, evident. They do come across, that you will see them, but you have to kind of be conscious that they're not really there. I think that's the best course of action. But again, he says, therefore, he is like the ocean, uh, always full of himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities and he is not even slightly disturbed by desires of sense gratification, as I stated earlier.
Hmm.
Now, this also says that this is the proof of the Krishna consciousness man, right, who has lost all his inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present, again, reiterating that because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy the peace. And as you mentioned, Prabhu, that knowledge and all these other different things are taken into account in these different purports. I think in this one, it's kind of a little bit fixated on the consciousness and probably the unconsciousness part of that realm. That you have to kind of look underneath inside yourself and then kind of concentrate on that and not really be outward, as I kind of stated earlier. So that's what I got from this purport. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank
Hmm.
you.
Okay, thank you. One thing that I wanted to highlight, in addition to what Prabhu just said, there is this verse, that word that is used by Krishna, kama kami. Okay, Prabhupada translated as one who desires to fulfill desires. That's an interesting way of putting it. So he's the desirer of desires, right? That's the way he's putting it. So when a desire comes into our consciousness, be it from our circumstances or our conditioning, we have a choice whether we resist that desire or we reject it or we, desire it, right? A desire has come to you and you're like, oh yeah, I want it, right? If we refuse to become a desirer of the desire, we take away its power to agitate us. And that leads to peace, right? Krishna, in the fifth chapter, last verse, he tells who's a happy person. Right? So he says, who's peace, right? That he says that, right? Bhoktaram yajna tapasam, sarva loka maheshwaram, suhirdam sarva bhutana, gyatva mam shantim rachyati. Krishna says, we attain peace on coming to know Krishna as our eternal greatest well-wisher. Knowing him thus naturally leads to our desiring an intimate relationship of love with him, right? So peace comes not just by refusing to become a desirer of desires, that's kama kami, but also by choosing to become a desirer of the supremely desirable object, which is Krishna. So that's something, the word kama kami, I really like this word very much. I just wanted to highlight that. Okay. Thank you, Ru. Next, who's 71?
I think it's me, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Hare
please go ahead.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I start by saying the shloka. Vihaya kamaya sarvan pumam shareti nishpriyaha nirmamo nyahankara sasatim adhigacchati. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So basically, here Krishna is talking about like the quality of a true self-realized person, and basically saying we're not fully peaceful until desires rule us. But when we actually act with purified intention, we're going to be free from self-ego. And I think he's breaking it up here into 4 parts, from what I can see, where Vihaya Kaman is talking about giving up material desires, and Nishpriya is talking about living without craving and any dependence. So people are constantly in this material world running to satisfy things. And at the beginning of the shloka, Arjuna too is giving a lot of importance to his ego, thinking he's going to kill his family, he's going to fight, he's going to do these things by himself. There's a little less dependence on Krishna at this point with Arjuna. So he's essentially, Krishna is saying the quality of a self-realized person, where they're actually not running just after things to satisfy the senses. And Prabhupada makes a really good point in the purport later on, where it doesn't mean that a self-realized person does not have any desire, but instead it means their desire is for the satisfaction of Krishna. So they're not desireless, but they actually have desires for Krishna. And their desires become purified and in line with the spiritual purpose rather than what we call sense gratification. So, like I said, they were living without craving independence, where oftentimes in our material world we think, I want that, I need that. But instead, a devotee is steady, whether like sukha dukkha, though, in happiness, in distress. Their happiness is coming from within instead of like desires or external things they're gaining. So they're shifting from the mentality of this is mine, which is nirmama, which they're free from the mentality of this is mine. And they're free from false ego and the idea that I'm the controller. They don't see themselves as like the center of the universe, which is what Krishna is saying to Arjuna, where they're recognizing that they're a spiritual soul, essentially, and they're not this ego that they're holding. So when their ego drops, they get what Krishna is saying in the last line, sa satyam adhigacchati, where they're turning perfect peace. So this has to mainly focus on the inner consciousness, because Krishna is describing transformation of the heart, becoming free from ego, recognizing our true position, free from possessiveness. So it's it's less external consciousness to answer like the second question we were given. It's more inner consciousness. So it's talking about the change that starts from inside. And he's essentially teaching Arjuna and all of us that Arjuna at the beginning was overwhelmed with fear and guilt and was confused because he was thinking in terms of his family, his reputation, his loss, his sin. He asked Krishna a lot of questions about this, like, how can I kill my family? What happened to my sin? If I do this is a sin. So Krishna is teaching him that this heavy sense of ownership is actually bringing you down. And the same lesson is for all of us, where our stress is coming from trying to control everything. So instead of that, and attaching ourselves to our success and failure, we should let go of our ego. And so but that doesn't mean like for a real life circumstance, like if I'm a student and doesn't mean I don't try hard for my grades, or if I'm a job, doesn't mean I don't do my work. It just means that when I do it, I have a submissiveness to Krishna. It doesn't mean I don't try. So yeah, that's for my.
Thank you. Yes, the point you brought out towards the end, that that's is doing our work, not being, doing the best of our capacity, but then understanding that Krishna is the one who's in control. And this is the sense that we often associate with surrender. That's what Gita wisdom is helping us to understand, that things which are out of our control are still under Krishna's control. And when we appreciate that he's our well-wisher and that he can bring good out of bad also, letting go of things becomes easier for us. So, and that's what Krishna is asking Arjuna to do, that desire for sense gratification, that, hey, no, I want this. This is what I think is right. So that includes all these aspects. Proprietorship, I know what is right, or this belongs to me. Those kind of things, when we give those up and understanding, because the reason we have those desires is because I feel that it's all that I have to do is all about me. It's all me who's managing everything. There's nobody else. So that's where the desires come in. But the moment I get into this thought process that, hey, no, Krishna is taking control of everything. Every winter comes and the squirrels get a thick layer of fur to protect them from the cold, right? So Krishna is protecting everybody. Then this desire for hoarding things, controlling things loosens up and it goes away. So yes, thank you. And then we have the last verse. Who's doing the last verse?
Me, Prabhuji.
Yes, Rajesh, please go ahead.
Okay. Esha Brahmi sthiti partha mainam prapya vimuhyati sthitva syam antakalepi brahma nirvanam uchyati. Translation: that is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. Here, Krishna is talking about Brahmistiti and Brahma Nirvana. That is a called person who is a Sthita Pragya, who has a complete knowledge, who is situated in the complete knowledge. One who offers his mind to Krishna, he can automatically develop attachment to Krishna through senses, that is internally. But if his mind is somewhere else, that is externally, and even though his senses are engaged in Krishna consciousness, he doesn't get peace of mind. But when one engages his mind in Krishna, then he slowly gets rid of the attachment of the senses, and his mind becomes peaceful. When his mind becomes pure, and then his mind becomes pure, and then he attains prasad. Prasad means the mercy of the Lord. So the destination of such a Sthita Pragya person is that he goes back to the Supreme Personality, and that is the deathlessness, Brahma Nirvana, the real mukti, the real liberation to go back to the Supreme Lord. So that is the destination of the state of the Sthita Pragya devotee, is Brahma Nirvana. That is what I understood, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so yes, you highlighted those two things. So two results. One will not be diluted again. Nainam prapte vimoyati. And stitvasyam. Antakale api. That even if we are doing this at the end of our life, antakale, then we'll become liberated. So this is the first reference in Gita to the significance of the last moment of our lives, right? What consciousness do I have at the time of death? And eighth chapter will have more details of it. This is just a prelude to it. Yes. So Brahmi Sthiti is very important, as you highlighted, right? This is a Brahma Sthiti. So uh, being at the stage of liberation, Brahma Sthiti. Right? So when we have that kind of a connection, as Krishna is saying, spiritual and godly life, then even amidst violence, we can have peace. So Brahmi Sthiti is a spiritual situation. So Arjun's question was about Sthita Pragya. And then all those answers were given up to this point. 71st verse, actually. This is just a conclusion, right? And the essence was that external peace is dependent on outer factors. They're not always under our control. But when outer factors go out of control, then we may lose our outer peace, but we may not lose our inner peace if we stay fixed in Krishna consciousness, in spiritual consciousness. So Krishna is in a he's repeating the terminology of peace, right? He saw that. So, for example, he's saying Brahma Nirvanam Rachyati, right? Brahmi Sthiti. So he's been using that concept of peace. Here also he says Shanti Madi Gachyati. So Krishna is repeatedly pointing out that peace is only possible when you are in a spiritual consciousness. We cannot get peace if we are in a material consciousness, because that keeps changing. That's one inherent nature of this material world, that it's always changing. It's not constant. So yes, that's why Krishna is repeating the terminology of peace here. Okay, perfect. So this ends our chapter 2. We will get on to chapter 3. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Okay. So now, before I move on to chapter 3, any questions, comments, thoughts before I get into chapter 3?
I do. So, I think this comes up in chapter 3, but when they talk about senses being controlled by mind, but then sense is better than dull matter.
Mhm.
So could you explain more about that part?
About that part, that's the last verse of the 3rd chapter. Do you
Oh,
want to wait till the last verse? Can
no,
you
I
wait till the
need to
last?
know this week. I need to know this week if you can. Yeah. Could you jump on that part a little bit, or should I wait?
No, if you have something like you need it this week.
I'm presenting chapter 3 this week, so I need to know.
Okay. Can I just text you the meaning of that? Can I text you the explanation if that's okay with you?
Yes, thank you.
So I can. So when are you when is that class that you're having?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. So I still have a day, so I can do that tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
I'll send you a detailed explanation what Krishna. It's the last verse. Let's see if I can just pull that out verse. I'll show it to you. 42nd verse, right? So it's Indriyani Praniyahur Indriyebhya Paramana Manasastu Parabuddhirya Buddhe Paratastusha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul, is even higher than it. This is what you're referring to, right?
Yes, the first sentence I don't understand.
You don't understand the first sentence? Is that
Yeah,
what?
I know that mind is higher than senses, intelligence is higher than mind, but what is that dull matter? Like that
Oh,
does that part
the
of our
dull.
body?
No, dull matter. Yeah, dull matter is just matter, right? Anything outside so all this world is dull matter. Like, for example, you have your phone. The phone won't do anything unless you go pick it up in your hand. Your senses don't connect with it, right? It's just dull matter. That's what it means. That's dull matter that's being referred to here.
So how does that connect with the senses better than higher, superior than dull matter?
So dull matter is the lowest. It's the lowest thing in this creation. Your senses are higher to it because your senses have to interact with that dull matter to make that dull matter of any use, to make it active in one sense.
So when we have our physical body, the skin, the blood, the bone, are they dull matter?
Well,
And
without
our
this,
senses, the ears and nose and the skin with the, those perception, that's better than, higher than blood
okay.
itself, the bone itself.
Okay, so you have a deeper question. I'll get back to you. I'll text you then.
Okay, thank you.
If you can just frame the question and also send me. I know you had another question about your connection to the body. If you can just send it to me, I can probably give you a more specific answer. You can please do that. Okay, so nothing in this, nothing about chapter 2. So now I asked you all, how does chapter 2 connect to chapter 3? Anybody think about that? Any thoughts? Yes, Satyal Virimati.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you, so Mataji's question, can you share and also the answer so we can also understand, what the dull matter is?
Sure, I can send it, but we will be doing it when the verse comes.
Okay.
So nothing to worry about that. We'll be doing it, but I can send it to everybody. That's okay also.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so did anybody give it a thought? What's the connection between chapter 2 and chapter 3? Yes, I can. Yes, please go ahead.
Prabhu, so far Krishna has been talking only on the level of mind and ego, right? He hasn't actually talked about any activities that somebody needs to do, right? It's mostly like conceptually explaining things, right? What somebody needs to do. Is that correct statement? Like you have to rise over your thought process, your senses, and all of that, right? But he's not gone further than that, right?
Well, in the second chapter, if you see, Krishna has walked you through the whole thing, right? Arjun surrenders, accepts Krishna as Guru. By surrendering to Guru, getting proper knowledge, so he's done, kind of in one sense. So, first chapter, question asked. Second chapter, question answered. Bhagavad Gita is done. It's over. So, Krishna has answered all of Arjun's questions. So he's done it. So, what you're saying is that Krishna has not talked about some things yet. That's why he's speaking chapters further. Is that what you were saying?
That's what my understanding is, Prabhuji. Yeah.
You can say that. Krishna has basically given a summary in the second chapter, as the chapter is a summary, but then Krishna is going to expand upon those details in the further on chapters, right? And one reason for that is because Krishna still knows that. So, first chapter, what was first chapter? It was the problem identification, Dehatma Buddhi. We have our intelligence is focused on this body, right? So, Arjun had raised all questions that were based on bodily identification, right? But the problem is that even though Krishna has answered all the questions in the second chapter, Krishna knows that Arjun is not yet fully convinced. As they say, right? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You can lead a man to wisdom, but you can't make him think. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So Dehatma Buddhi is very strong. Krishna has presented in a very good way. He's taught him about karma yoga, so many things. But he knows that Arjun is not yet satisfied. Because the last question that Arjun asked, Sthita Pragya. So what Arjun is still thinking, that probably I can get an answer from Krishna where it would mean that a Sthita Pragya, a self-realized soul, doesn't have to fight a war. That's what his thought was. That's why he was asking that question. Right? So that is why Krishna has to expand upon what he is saying now. Because the Dehatma Buddhi is very strong. The covering is very thick, in other words. We always filter what we hear. From the truth we hear, we take what we find suitable for our ego. Right? That's a very common thing. I do that all the time. I hear something and I filter it. This fits me. This is right. This is not right. This is what I have heard from somebody. This is right. I have to push. All that's it's just my mind doing it. So that is why Krishna knows that mindset of Arjun. So he is elaborating on many things now.
Correct.
Did it make
Yeah.
sense? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhuji, yeah.
Okay. Yes. So the first verse that starts that Arjun is saying, "O Janardhan, O Keshav, why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work," right? So because Krishna has talked about a sthita pragya, we talked about it, right? Intelligence, control your intelligence should direct it. We just read it in the verses that we were doing, right? So Arjun is again trying to present it at, looks like Krishna, you yourself are confused. He was thinking that I have to keep away from this war by using my intelligence. That was his thought process. So he's confused. So because he's still thinking on a bodily level. And he's saying that, he says this first, this is his question. And then the second one, he says, Vyamisharida Vakyena. He says that my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instruction. Please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So he's saying, you're confusing me, Krishna. You're bewildering me. On one hand, you tell me to use Buddhi Yoga, be peaceful, be detached, be freed from attraction of this world. That's what I want to do. I want to go to the Himalayas, have nothing to do with this world. Right? But then Krishna is telling him the other, no, you have to go and fight also. This battle also has to be done. So now Arjun is confused. What is Krishna doing here? Yes, somebody raised their hand. I can't see who's there.
Prabhuji, it's me, Nityarada.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, if we remember all the last shlokas, we remember that Krishna clearly mentioned that despite doing materialistic activities, we have to keep Krishna in the center. So even materialistic people, whatever they are doing for Krishna. And Krishna clearly told him in the previous shlokas that you fight because I am telling you. So now my question is like, why Arjun is still confused when Krishna clearly told him that you do because I am saying it to do. You do it because if you killing the body, like if you're killing the body, they will go to heaven, and you cannot kill the Atma soul. So why Arjun is still confused when Krishna gave him both the reasonings from a Sankhya Yoga perspective and Buddhi Yoga perspective. So that's my question, Prabhuji.
Oops. Sorry, I just got a pop-up for some restart was. Okay. So your question is that when Krishna has given both the things about Sankhya and Buddhi Yoga, so why is Arjun not satisfied? Is that what is not
Yes.
not
Now
not
now why Arjun is still confused? Why he's not fighting, or why this question is again rising? Why Krishna has to explain him, convince him further.
Okay. So because he misunderstood what Krishna taught in chapter 2. Okay. So let's see what Krishna teaches in chapter 2. Let's just look at it, in a short way. Sankhya Yoga, knowledge of the soul. Okay. Buddhi Yoga, acting without attachment. He teaches about renunciation through wisdom, Jnana Yoga, and he talks about karma. Right. So Krishna talked of both the things. He talked of renunciation also and of karma yoga also. So the way Arjun interpreted is Krishna telling me that this renunciation or that knowledge, is it superior to working? If renunciation is better, why is he asking me to fight? Right? And that's what he's asking in this first question, right? If you think knowledge is superior, why do you want me to fight? So Arjun is not confused about the soul anymore. Okay. He's confused about which path Krishna actually wants him to follow. His doubt about the soul thing is gone. Right? So so what the way Arjun is saying is that Krishna is praising two separate paths. And he also understood that Krishna is saying renunciation is higher, right? But actually, what has Krishna taught us is that he's teaching one path, but with two separate aspects to it. Right? So, renunciation, but when Krishna says renunciation, he does not mean renunciate this world. He's saying renunciate the attachment, right? So that's what. So he's in a simple sense, he so what he's thinking is that Krishna is giving contradictory contra instructions. That's why he's confused, right? So that's what the reason that uh, that's what's happening there. I'm not sure if that was clear. Did that make sense, Manji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Rohit, that's what kind of got confused when I asked you the other question, because so far he talked about like, uh, you know, uh, your senses, how to control senses and things like that, right? But all of that actually does not belong to action. And he's also asked now. This one was my confusion as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, in that sense, yes. Krishna chapter 3 starts to explain the actual path, the Karma Yoga, right? That's the name of this chapter, Karma Yoga. And so Bhagavad Gita it uses a very progressive teaching style. Chapter 2 gives the goal and the concept. The goal is self-realization. The concept is Buddhi Yoga. Now, chapter 3 actually it starts with the actual path that you have to take to come to the level of self-realization, which is saying Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, as Prabhupada has explained us, is bringing Krishna into everything, not giving up everything, right? So, so two paths, Sankhya, that is renunciation or contemplation, and Karma Yoga, action, right? So, that's, yeah. So in that sense, yes, you're right, Sandeep Prabhu, that Krishna is now explaining the more elaborately the actual path, right? So, yeah, Arjun was thinking that they are two separate things: knowledge and renunciation, and action in devotion. He thought these are two separate things, right? Opposing instruction. But then what now Krishna is now going to explain is that there's actually one path. So then, and the correct application is action, not renouncing things. You have to act, but with that sense of detachment, or in a broader sense, as Krishna explaining, as Prabhupada explains, in a service to Krishna. Hope I gave some insight there instead of confusing both of you.
So what Prabhuji he talked about so far is the eventual state one is supposed to get to. But the reason Arjun is confused is because once he explained the state, then he asked him to fight, which is kind of at least as of now, right? It's kind of contrary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Arjun cannot see how acting in war can lead to liberation. Because in his mind, knowledge means renouncing action. But when I do action, it will bind me. So what he's not able to see is that you can do action and still not be bound to it.
Exactly. Yep.
So so that's what Krishna is going to show it to him, that action done without attachment will liberate you. So that's what Arjun is confused about. Because in his mind, knowledge means renouncing action, and action means you get bound to it. He doesn't know the middle path. You could renounce action without renouncing it in one sense. That's the way. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was clear? Prabhuji, Mataji?
Yep, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. So let me just, I had a slide. Let me show you a slide which I was, if I can share it with you. Oh, we are at 8:15. Let's see. Let's look at this. I just wanted to show you that how this all is connected. So now just giving you a summary of the chapters, right? Chapter 1, observing armies and Arjun's lamentation. Arjun gives his 4 reasons not to fight: compassion, enjoyment, fear of sinful reactions, destruction of family tradition. And then in the second chapter, that filters on that he's indecisive, right? And then Krishna instructs Arjun, talks about Jnana Yoga, Sankhya, Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, and then Sthita Pragya. That's the path that has been for the first and second chapter. So this beginning of this third chapter, now Arjuna is saying, I'm confused. Right? On one hand, you're asking me to be intelligent, and the other hand, you're asking me to take part in this fight also. So Arjuna is confused by those equivocal instructions, right? And what are those? I just highlighted this, and Prabhupada talks about this in the third verse also. These verses, he highlights these. That in the verse 38 and 39 of the second chapter, Krishna asks Arjun to get up with determination and fight, right? Tato yuddhaya yudhyasva. He says that. But then in the 49th verse, Krishna tells him, keep far distance from abominable activities. And Arjun is interpreting killing people as an abominable activity, right? So that is why he's confused. And that's where this question comes in the third chapter. That's the connection between the chapter 2 and 3, as I was mentioning. That Arjun is confused by what the instruction is given to him, right? Oh, this is okay. This probably I will come to the next time, but let's just go through that. Where was I? Oh, no, I had to share again, probably. I see. Okay, yes. So that's what Arjun is saying, that I'm confused, right? That Krishna, you are talking about many things, and I'm confused about this. So we're just 15 minutes away. I will talk to you in detail about the yoga ladders, right? But it needs some time, and so I want to do it probably next week. But yeah, so we saw that as I was saying, in this Arjun is confused. These first two verses, right? That Krishna has spoken on 4 levels, that all those jnana and all that. So Arjun is confused with that, right? So then Krishna starts by speaking that, O sinless Arjun, I have already explained that there are 2 classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service, right? And I mentioned to you, and Prabhupada talks of this, that in 39th verse, Lord explains the Sankhya Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Sankhya Yoga is what? It's the analytical study of nature of spirit and matter, right? And then Buddhi Yoga is, Prabhupada is translating this as Krishna consciousness, right? So that's what it's saying, that Prabhupada is translating that Karma Yoga is devotion here, right? So yes, so these 2 things are being talked about. Well, one thing I wanted to highlight here, where is that? The word Karma Yogena is used here. Okay, so somebody might say, oh, Prabhupada is translating Karma Yoga as devotion, right? What Prabhupada is doing, Prabhupada gave Bhagavad Gita according to the conclusive understanding throughout, because of the requirements, contextual requirements. What I mean by that is, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is devotion. Surrender to Krishna is devotion. Okay. What Prabhupada is doing, he's bringing that thought in every purport of his. Okay. Once a Mayavadi asked Prabhupada that, oh, you are adding Krishna where there is no Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada said, you remove Krishna where he is actually. So Prabhupada is in one sense countering the misinterpretation of Bhagavad Gita that has been spread all over the world. Prabhupada is countering that. So he's giving the conclusive understanding of Bhagavad Gita, which is bhakti, devotion, and he's bringing that in every single context, right? So what Prabhupada knew, that Kali Yuga, people are going to be extremely distracted to an extent that our senses will go numb. People don't read. So what Prabhupada wanted to do was that when anybody opens any page of Bhagavad Gita, they should get the essential message of Bhagavad Gita. Right? So what Prabhupada did was that what Krishna gives in the end of Bhagavad Gita, he gives it everywhere in Bhagavad Gita. So that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes people ask this. Many people have asked me this question that, oh, Prabhupada, this interpretation is Prabhupada's interpretation. No, it's not Prabhupada's interpretation. It's what Krishna is saying. Prabhupada is just bringing the core message of Bhagavad Gita into every single purport. He's not changing like he's not changing necessarily the translation, but the purport he can give it because that's his purport. Right? So I just wanted to highlight that so that you all have it in mind, that you'll see some places that, oh, there's no bhakti being talked about here. Why is Prabhupada bringing it? That's the reason Prabhupada is bringing it.
Yeah, Prabhuji, because like I think only in the last second chapter, last or before that, some shlok, Krishna says, right, that focus on to me. Because until then, he didn't even say a word about himself. He was just talking about what somebody should do, right? Is it a
Yes.
correct way to put it? And maybe after that, so yeah.
Yes. See, the way Krishna speaks, if you look at the mindset of a devotee, the devotee is very anxious to establish Krishna's supremacy everywhere. But Krishna himself cannot do that because Krishna has given free will to all of us. He cannot force his love onto us. But down deep, he is hankering for us. I was listening to a class recently, which Maharaj? Prabhupada. So in essence, but that Prabhupada has also said that, I've heard Prabhupada, that Krishna is actually more eager to have us back home than we are eager to go to him. So with that thought in mind, he is very desperate to have us back home, but he cannot force himself on us. His hands are tied in one sense, as you can say. Because he's Bhagavan, he's given us a free will. But a devotee can sacrifice his own ego and go and tell people about bhakti. That's what Prabhupada is doing, because Prabhupada can understand Krishna's heart. He's a pure devotee. That is what he's doing here. But Krishna, the way Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, he spoke it for everybody. Hey, you are a philosopher, you're more introspective, and you love to speculate. You're a philosophical person. Fine, I have something for you also in here. Hopefully, by speculating, you'll come to bhakti one day. There are karma yogis. Krishna said, okay, fine, you're a karma yogi. Do karma in my consciousness. Hopefully, you'll come to pure devotion someday. The essence is still pure devotion to Krishna. That is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And what Prabhupada is doing, again, as I was saying, because of the distracted nature of this Kali Yuga, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Padrita, we are not very intelligent, we are very unlucky, and above all, we are always distracted. So Prabhupada brings that essence of Bhagavad Gita in every purport of his. So you have to always understand that a pure devotee can understand Krishna's heart, and he is very desperate to bring out that message to everybody in this Kali Yuga because he knows that everybody is looking for that essential message. This whole world is suffering because they don't ask questions the way Arjun is asking. Right? That is why the world is so numb. So yeah, just keep that in mind whenever you're reading Bhagavad Gita. And if somebody points this out to you, don't start doubting Prabhupada. You should have this clarity in your mind, all of us, because we all are Bhakti Shastri students. Okay. So now here Krishna is elaborating. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. Right? So what he's saying is that there has to be inner purification. That's what he's saying. Abstaining from work, you cannot be free. You cannot free yourself from by abstaining from work, right? Nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So the perfection that Krishna is referring to is that inner purification, right? So if you're not attaining that inner purification, both those paths are useless. The one that Arjun is referring to. Right? So Krishna just said there are two paths. There are people who are philosophical speculators. They are devotees, right? But then it has to lead to inner purification, right? Let's do fifth, and then we can pause here because sixth, the Krishna changes the gears a bit. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Right? So, modes direct the activities. That's what Krishna is saying. Right? Modes of material nature. So we are forced to act helplessly. right? So we cannot refrain from doing something. So the soul is burdened by this body. That's something to keep in mind. And Krishna is giving this verse is explaining the condition of all living entities. We are forced to act helplessly according to the modes of material nature. So we need that sense of renunciation, detachment from these modes if we want to come to the level of purification or of that liberation. So yes, so the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. So what we all are doing is this purificatory process, the four regulatory principles, the chanting. When we do that, that's the purificatory process that takes us to this level of the point of Krishna consciousness. Okay, I'll pause here. I won't continue. Any thoughts or comments at this point? Anyone? We did up to verse 5.
I had a question from chapter 2.
Yes, please.
Chapter 2. So about the verse of 47, which you were saying that it's very famous and everyone likes to talk about it. But I was still a little confused about what is the part that you said everyone don't get it. Is it possible for you to repeat?
Let's look at that verse. Where is that? 47. Is that the verse? Okay. Yes, let's look at this. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So, yes, this is the 47th verse. So, yes, so what I was saying is that Krishna is saying that, yes, we don't have karma nevadikaraste. Do your duty, but don't be attached to the results, right? So, but the second part which Krishna says is never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activity and never be attached to not doing your duty, right? So this is the part which people don't understand. What I meant was that we understand that I only have to do my duty. That's something that people have in their mindset. However, when the results come, they think that they came because of their, they connect themselves to the results. They're attached to the results. That's one thing that people do, right? So yes, do your duty. They know that we're not entitled to the fruits of action, but that part is missing in them. They still think that, okay, because I've done the activities, I am the cause of it. So to some extent, I also should get to enjoy the results, right? So that's the part which people miss, right? That we are not the doers. We are the outcome is not my responsibility or not for me to enjoy. They want to enjoy it. That's something that people miss.
I see.
I'm not sure. Did I confuse you? I'm not sure.
No, yeah, I was just confused about that one part which people don't get it. So, but also when you consider this, right, never consider yourself the cause of results, does it also apply to like for like, something bad that happens?
I didn't get to your question. Sorry.
I mean, like I was hearing this one like someone was speaking to Prabhupada and he said that he was a bus driver and he accidentally killed someone. And like he was never charged for the crime, and like it was all proof that it was not his fault. The victim just like walked in front and it was his fault, but he had that guilt in his heart. So when Prabhupada said it was not your fault, he felt very relieved. So I'm talking about those kind of situations, like do you also in those kind of situations consider that that you are not the cause of the result?
So you're asking that that person's satisfaction was correct? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, so he was not charged by law for it, but that doesn't mean that the law is what Krishna is also thinking. It's not the same way necessarily, right? That if something happened, the court might think that he was not responsible for it, but in truth, he might have been responsible for it. He might have killed some people because he suddenly lost attention from the road, or he fell asleep on the wheel, or something like that. So I'm sorry, I think I'm confused about your question, but yeah. So he thinking that he's not being charged is being explained. This verse is explaining that it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Okay.
It's not connected. I don't see that connection there, because if the court is not punishing him, doesn't mean that the law of karma will not punish him, because the law of karma is perfect. Krishna sees everything. It's all being done under the vision of these superior demigods. They know exactly what you're doing. You cannot fool them. You can fool the court, but not them. So it could be that he was not actually at all fault, but it could be that, yeah, the court just didn't notice what his fault was. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah. Just the verse you were asking, 247, right? So it focuses on you must do your duty, right? That's something that, as I was saying, most people say, in India, they have this concept, oh yeah, just do your duty. However, the part that they miss is, yeah, but to some extent, they also understand that you should not be attached to the results. However, what they miss is that your intelligence must be clean of that false ego. That's something that is highlighting here. Never consider yourself the cause or results. Never be attached to doing your duty, not doing your duty. So that ahankar should not be there, right? And your mind should not run into inaction, because sometimes what happens is, if your activities are not bearing fruit, people give it up because of fear or confusion. So that part they don't understand, and the second part of that verse is highlighting the dependence on Krishna that we all should have, which people miss. They only take the first part of it: do your duty, don't worry about the results. But the second part, which highlights the concept of depending on Krishna, being free of ahankara, not giving up your duty, doing everything with the Krishna concept, that part people miss. That's what I mean. I just thought it through. Yes.
And
Okay.
one more question I had was about the exam. Did you post the comments on the exam?
I did for most of them, but I think I missed it yours. I'll post comments for yours also.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I did for most of them, but I think I missed yours.